You're not welcome here. Go home and look after your daughter." My mom said that, right at the Thanksgiving table, in front of 19 family members, while I was still holding the personal check I'd written for her rent that very month. She expected me to fall apart. She expected me to fold and beg and go quiet the way I always did. Instead, I smiled. And what I pulled out of my purse next made every single person at that table go completely silent, but not for the reason she planned. Before I go any further, if you've ever given everything to people who treated you like nothing, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button right now because this channel is for people who are done being invisible. And drop your city and your local time in the comments below right now. I read every single one. Seriously, tell me where in the world you're watching from. My name is Rachel Connors. I'm 34 years old. I'm a senior bookkeeper living in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm a single mom to the best 7-year-old on the planet, my daughter Lily. And for the better part of 3 years, I was the person who kept my entire family from drowning, right up until they made it crystal clear I was never really family at all. Let me take you back. 'Cause this story doesn't start at Thanksgiving. It starts on a rainy Wednesday night in March, about 8 months before everything blew up. Every month on the 1st, I'd sit down at my kitchen table with my laptop and a cold cup of coffee I kept forgetting to drink. Same routine every single time. I'd log into my bank account, pull up the payment portal for the Sycamore Lane property, and transfer $2,700 straight to my parents' landlord. Sycamore Lane. 2-story rental in Greenfield, Ohio with the big front porch and the garden beds my dad, Howard, had planted back when his knees still cooperated. My parents had lived there for 16 years. It wasn't their house they'd never owned, but it was home. And for 28 months running, I was the one making sure they didn't lose it. It started the way these things always do. A phone call in the middle of the night. My dad had been diagnosed with early-stage type 2 diabetes and a knee condition that was slowly breaking down and made it impossible for him to keep working his warehouse job. He was 61, proud and stubborn as a fence post. My mom, Beverly, called me at 11:30 at night, voice shaking. "Rachel, honey, we're going to get evicted. Your father can't work. I don't know what we're gonna do." She asked if I could cover the rent. "Just for a couple months," she said. Just until they got back on their feet. That was 28 months before Thanksgiving. I never missed a payment. Not once. On top of the rent, I covered my dad's medical co-pays, renewed their car registration when my mom forgot twice, and handled their renter's insurance when the policy lapsed. I was their back office, their safety net, their silent foundation. Nobody ever held a sign that said, "Thank you." Meanwhile, my younger brother Brandon lived in the outer suburbs of Columbus, maybe 40 minutes from my apartment, drove a leased BMW he couldn't afford, and called home on Sunday evenings to talk about his fantasy football league. He contributed nothing. $0. Zero logistics. Zero time. But when my parents talked about their kids, Brandon's name was always first. Brandon's so sharp. Brandon's doing so well. Brandon just got a promotion. I drove a 2015 Chevy Malibu with a cracked side mirror I kept duct taping back on. Every time I pulled into my parents' driveway, I parked next to Brandon's shiny Beamer. And every time I told myself the same thing, it doesn't matter. You're doing this because it's right. Kept every bank transfer confirmation. Every receipt. Every record. I don't even know why exactly. Maybe some part of me thought one day somebody would look at the evidence and say, "We see you. We're grateful." Nobody ever did. Call came on a Thursday morning in early March, about 8 months before everything finally fell apart. My mom's voice had that particular sweetness she only pulled out when she needed something. Higher pitched. Touch thin. Like she was already doing you a favor by asking. "Rachel, amazing news, sweetheart. Brandon is getting married. He proposed to Kristen last weekend in Santorini. Isn't that just wonderful?" I said congratulations and meant it. Brandon and Kristen had been together for almost 3 years. She was fine. A little cold but fine. Then came the turn. Now, honey, Brandon and I were talking, and we really need somebody who knows how to research things and handle bookings to help coordinate the venue. You know how detail-oriented you are. I wouldn't even know where to start with these places. So I became the wedding coordinator who wasn't invited to the wedding. I just didn't know that last part yet. I spent 4 evenings researching event venues in Amalfi Coast, Italy, Brandon's choice because Kristen had always dreamed of a European destination wedding. Clifftop villas covered in bright pink and red flowers. Limestone terraces with infinity pools that bled right into the sea. Centuries-old estates carved into the hillside with arched doorways and hand-painted tile floors that looked like something out of a dream. I found one that matched the inspiration board Kristen had sent me almost exactly, a private hilltop estate with a walled garden and a wide-open terrace overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. $22,000 for the weekend. 50% deposit up front. I put down the deposit. My name on the contract. My credit card on file. 'Cause Brandon didn't want the charge showing up while he was merging his bank accounts with Kristen, and my mom didn't have that kind of credit limit. Kristen emailed me a 4-page requirements list the next morning. Preferred flowers, linen colors, dietary notes for her parents. Not a single line said thank you. I scrolled to the bottom where the first draft of the guest list was attached. I scanned it twice. My name wasn't on it. I figured it was an oversight. I should have known better. Real quick, if you're new here, welcome. This channel is where I share the raw, honest stories that most people are too scared to tell out loud. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because trust me, this gets a whole lot worse before it gets better. The signs had been there for years. I'd just chosen not to read them. My college graduation, I walked across that stage with a 3.9 GPA and a finance degree I'd paid for with 2 part-time jobs and a lot of ramen. My parents showed up 40 minutes late. My dad shrugged and said Brandon had a baseball game that ran long. My mom spent the reception on her phone, texting Brandon encouragement for his upcoming tryout. When my daughter Lily was born, 6 pounds, 2 ounces, healthy and loud and perfect, the most important day of my entire life, my mom didn't come to the hospital until the following afternoon. She told me she'd been helping Brandon move furniture into his new apartment and didn't want to leave him stranded with boxes. She held Lily for maybe 8 minutes, took 2 photos, and left to have dinner with Brandon. Last Christmas, I'd driven an hour to my parents' house, cooked the entire holiday meal for 17 people, prime rib, roasted vegetables, 4 different sides, 2 pies, and when everyone complimented the food, my mom turned to the table and said, Brandon picked the wine pairing. He's really developed a palate. Brandon had grabbed a $12 bottle off the end cap at Kroger. After Christmas dinner, I sat in my car in their driveway for 20 minutes, staring at the steering wheel. Then I texted my best friend since college, Mara Thompson. Mara was the kind of woman who called things exactly what they were, no sugarcoating, no softening. Am I losing my mind, or is my family actually just kind of awful? 3 dots. Then, you're not losing your mind. They've always been this way. You just keep hoping they'll change. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I went back inside and helped clean up the kitchen because that's what I did. I swallowed it. I kept showing up. I kept convincing myself that if I just did a little more, tried a little harder, one day my mom would look at me the way she looked at Brandon. My daughter Lily asked me about Italy on a Tuesday night at dinner. We were eating at our little kitchen table, the one I'd assembled myself from a flat pack box using a YouTube video and a lot of patience. Our apartment on the east side of Columbus was small but clean. 1 bedroom for Lily, a pull-out sofa for me, a tiny balcony that looked out over the parking lot of the strip mall next door. Rent was $1,300 a month, which I could barely afford after sending $2,700 to Sycamore Lane every 30 days. Lily was 7 years old, and she had a way of picking up on things adults assumed went over kids' heads. Mommy, are we going to Italy for Uncle Brandon's wedding? She'd heard my mom mention it on a video call earlier that week. All excitement, all plans, all Brandon this and Kristen that. We'll see, baby, I said. I hated saying that. We'll see was just no with a gentler landing. After Lily was asleep, I opened my laptop and pulled up my bank account. I scrolled through 28 months of transfers. 2,700 here, 2,700 there. Copay reimbursements my mom forgot to send back. A plumber I'd paid for in October. Their car registration. I opened the calculator app and started adding. Rent payments over 28 months, $75,600. The venue deposit, $11,000. Miscellaneous expenses, copays, registration, repairs, the joint credit card my mom treated like a personal account, roughly $9,400. Total, $96,000. I sat back and just looked at that number for a while. $96,000. In less than 3 years. I was sleeping on a pull-out couch. Lily wore clothes from the second-hand kids store 2 blocks from our apartment. I'd skipped my own dental checkups twice because $40 copays felt like a luxury I couldn't justify. I dragged all the transaction screenshots into a new folder on my desktop. I named it Records. Just habit. The bookkeeper in me. 3 weeks later, I found out exactly why my name wasn't on that guest list. I called Brandon on a Saturday morning, keeping my voice totally casual. Hey, I was going over the venue paperwork and noticed the guest list you attached. I didn't see my name. Did you want me to add myself, or are you handling the final version separately? Silence. Caught kind, not the thinking kind. Oh. A long exhale. Mom said she was going to talk to you about that. The floor shifted under me. I felt it in my chest before my brain even caught up. I called my mom. She answered immediately, already mid-sentence about table arrangements. Mom, Brandon said you were going to talk to me about the guest list. A pause. Then her voice changed. Not apologetic. Not defensive. Just matter of fact, like she was telling me the grocery store had run out of her brand. It's a small ceremony, Rachel. Kristen's family is very traditional. They have a certain image in mind, you know how it is. A single mother with a young child doesn't quite fit the tone they're going for. It's nothing personal. She let that breathe for a second, then added, and honestly, someone needs to be home with Lily. I was standing in the break room at Meridian Financial Services, where I worked as a senior bookkeeper, the fluorescent lights humming overhead. I caught my reflection in the microwave door, tired, worn, the kind of person you leave off a list and assume won't notice. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I said nothing and I ended the call. This wasn't an oversight. Brandon's silence confirmed it. My mom's rehearsed delivery confirmed it. They'd sat down and made this decision together, decided I didn't belong in the frame, and the only thing they hadn't worked out was the script for telling me. My phone screen went dark. I set it face down on the break room table and stared at the wall. I found out about the group chat from my Aunt Patrice, my mom's older sister, the kind of woman who meant well but had zero filter. She called me about a casserole recipe and mentioned, completely offhand, "Oh, and I told your mom in the Amalfi chat that I'll need an aisle seat because of my hip. You know how I am with chairs." I went completely still. The Amalfi chat? The wedding group text your mom set up. For everyone going to the ceremony. A pause. A beat too late. The oh no what did I say silence. You're not, oh honey. After we hung up, I sat with that information. My mom had created a family group text about Brandon's wedding. She'd added aunts and uncles and cousins. She'd built a whole coordination hub. And she'd left me out while I was actively paying for the venue they were all chatting about. Then Patrice texted me a screenshot an hour later. She felt too guilty not to. The group was called Amalfi June Airplane Departure Clinking Glasses Ring. 43 messages deep. Hotel recommendations, outfit planning, who needed to book flights, whether to rent a car or just Uber. And buried in the middle of it, a message from my mom. Rachel said she'd rather stay close to home with Lily. She's never been big on travel or fancy events, you know how she is. But she sends her love. She hadn't just excluded me. She'd written me a whole character, the quiet, homebodied sister who preferred her couch and her kid. She made it so nobody would ever think to question why I wasn't there. I wasn't excluded. According to this chat, I'd opted out. I wasn't the woman who'd put down $11,000 on that venue. I was just Rachel who liked to stay home. I need you to stop for a second. 'Cause I know someone watching this right now has been in this exact spot. Someone rewrote your story for you. Made you the villain or the one who just didn't care. Drop a broken heart in the comments if you've ever had someone lie about you to keep you small. And if this story is hitting close to home, please share it. You never know who needs to see it today. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, my mom called again. Same sugary voice. Same assumption that yes was the only answer available. Rachel, honey, we're doing Thanksgiving at our place this year. You'll handle the cooking, right? You know me and your father can barely boil water for a crowd. I held the phone away from my face and just looked at it. She was asking me to cook Thanksgiving dinner for the family that had decided I was too embarrassing to invite to a wedding. She wanted me to show up, tie on an apron, feed everyone, smile through it, and then wave goodbye in June while they all flew off to celebrate without me. Sure, Mom, I said. Calm. Easy. Even smiling a little because this time I wasn't agreeing out of obligation. I was agreeing because I'd started making a different kind of plan. That same afternoon, I went to the office supply store and bought a manila envelope. Back at my apartment, while Lily watched cartoons, I printed every bank statement from the past 28 months. Every auto transfer confirmation. The venue contract with my name at the top. The email chain with the Amalfi Coast venue coordinator. The screenshot Aunt Patrice had sent me. I stacked it all, clipped it, and slid it into the envelope. I pressed my thumb along the edge. Maybe half an inch of paper. But it held $96,000 worth of truth that nobody in that family had ever bothered to look at. The next morning, I noticed a new charge on the joint credit card my mom still had access to, $62 at HomeGoods. She was buying decorations for Thanksgiving dinner. With my money. For a table I was going to set and then be dismissed from. I let it sit. I didn't cancel the card. Not yet. I needed the timing to be right. I called Mara that week. We met at a coffee shop near her office, reclaimed wood tables, indie music, the kind of place where people bring their laptops and stay for 3 hours. She took one look at my face and pushed her latte aside. Tell me everything. So I did. The guest list. The group chat. The venue deposit. 28 months of rent. All of it laid out like a spreadsheet. Factual. Organized. Devastating. Mara didn't interrupt. When I finished, she didn't hug me. She leaned forward with both hands flat on the table and said the thing nobody else had ever said to me. Rachel, you've given them close to $100,000 in 3 years. You sleep on a pull-out couch. Lily wears secondhand everything. Do you hear yourself? Wake up. It hit like stepping outside in January without a coat. What would happen, she said slowly, if you just stopped? Not as revenge. Just stopped. I'd never let myself think about it in those exact terms. But sitting across from Mara with the numbers still echoing in my head, I let the idea take up space. If I stopped paying the rent, my parents couldn't cover it. My dad's disability payments barely covered utilities. My mom hadn't worked in years. They'd fall behind within 60 days. If I canceled the venue, Brandon would lose his dream location 4 months before the wedding. Rebooking anything comparable on the Amalfi Coast in peak wedding season on short notice? That would be a nightmare. I wasn't ready to decide anything yet, but something had cracked open. You're not abandoning them, Mara said. They already abandoned you. You're just catching up. I tried one more time because that's who I was. I drove to Sycamore Lane on a Wednesday evening. My dad was on the back porch with his woodworking tools. His refuge, the only space in that house that felt purely his. He was sanding down a picture frame, oak-stained, the kind you'd hang in a hallway. "That's nice, Dad." "What's it for?" He didn't look up. "Your mother wants it for Brandon's engagement photo. The one from Santorini." I pulled over a lawn chair and sat down. "Dad, did you know Mom told everyone in the family that I chose not to go to the wedding? That I'm a homebody who doesn't like to travel?" His hand slowed on the sandpaper. Still didn't look at me. "She said I'm not the right image for the ceremony. She told Kristen's family that before she even asked me to book the venue." "Did you know any of that?" Howard set the sandpaper down, rubbed his thumb across his palm, the thing he did when he was sitting in a discomfort he'd decided not to address. "Your mother has her reasons, Rachel. You know how she is. Don't start a whole thing." "Dad, I put $11,000 down on that venue. Just let it go." He turned back to the frame, back to Brandon's photo. I looked around the porch. Fishing poles on the hooks. A shelf of old tools. 3 framed photos. Brandon at his college graduation, Brandon at his first job, Brandon and Kristen at some event. I counted the wall space. Not one photo of me. Not one picture of Lily. I drove home and I never asked any of them for permission to exist again. I want to be straight with you, I wasn't snooping. When my mom had asked me to coordinate the venue, she'd given me her email login to forward the confirmations to myself. She never changed the password. It was still saved in my browser. I went back in because I needed the cancellation terms for my records. But when her inbox loaded, I saw a thread I'd missed before. Subject line, "Wedding guest considerations, Brandon and Kristen." The sender was Linda Marsh, Kristen's mother. Linda had sent a polite note asking about dietary needs and any practical notes for out-of-town family. Standard stuff. My mom's reply was dated February 9th, nearly a month before she'd even called me to book the venue. "Rachel won't be attending. She's never been comfortable in formal settings, and honestly, she prefers to keep things low-key. She's a lovely girl, but it's best for everyone if she sits this one out. I hope you understand." Linda's response, "Of course, Beverly. Whatever you think is best." February 9th. She'd told Kristen's family I wasn't coming before she'd ever asked me to put down an $11,000 deposit. Before the group chat. Before the guest list. Before the phone call where she acted like the decision had been made reluctantly, for the good of the ceremony. It wasn't reluctant. It was planned on purpose. I screenshot the email. I printed it. I added it to the manila envelope. The envelope was getting thicker. I was getting quieter. Those two things were connected. Okay, real talk, pause for a second. This point I'm sitting on almost $100,000 in receipts. I have an email proving my own mother lied about me to people she'd never met. And I have a venue contract with my full name on it. What would you do? Confront her right now, face to face? B. Cancel everything quietly and never say a word? C. Wait for the biggest, most public moment possible? Drop your answer A, B, or C in the comments right now. I'm going to read them. And while you're down there, smash that like button if you think what my mom did was dead wrong. This video needs to reach more people who are carrying the weight of a family that doesn't see them. I chose one of those 3 options. And what I did next? I still can't believe I actually went through with it. Thanksgiving morning. I dressed Lily in her little burgundy dress and her patent leather shoes that she'd been begging to wear since I bought them on clearance in September. She looked at herself in the mirror and said, "I look fancy, Mommy." She did. I put on my black blazer. Not my usual jeans and sweater combination. Something sharper. Something that said I wasn't walking into that house to serve and shrink. This year I brought one thing, a green bean salad I'd thrown together in 20 minutes. My mom had asked me to cook for 20 people. I'd said yes, But somewhere between that phone call and this morning, I decided the era of Rachel handling everything was officially over. Starting today, the manila envelope was in my tote bag. I checked its contents 3 times that morning. Lily held my hand in the driveway. The lawn was raked and clean. My dad had done it recently. Cars lined the whole street. Aunt Patrice's minivan. Uncle Greg's truck. Brandon's BMW right next to the front steps like a throne. Inside, I could hear laughter, glasses clinking, my mother's voice rising above everything like a conductor who never takes a break. "Are we gonna have fun, Mommy?" Lily asked, squeezing my hand. I looked down at her face. Wide open. Trusting. Still young enough to believe family meant people who loved you back. I squeezed her hand. I didn't answer. Because fun wasn't exactly the word for what was about to happen. 19 people around the table. My mom's good china, the ivory set with the silver rim she brought out for every major holiday. Autumn leaf centerpieces. Sparkling apple cider in the crystal glasses she'd bought at an estate sale 6 years ago, which I had driven her to. Everything arranged to say, "We are a family that has it all together." I sat at the end near the kitchen doorway. Always did. Lily was beside me, legs swinging, already eyeing the dinner rolls. Brandon sat to my mom's right, Kristen beside him, both of them in coordinating outfits. My dad, Howard, was at the head of the table, quiet as a bookmark. My mom stood and tapped her water glass. "I have some exciting news to share with everyone." Table settled. "We are all flying to the Amalfi Coast this June for Brandon and Kristen's wedding." She beamed. "The whole family together. It's going to be absolutely magical." Table erupted. Cheers. Aunt Patrice clasped her hands. Uncle Greg raised his glass. Cousins leaned across the table with huge grins. Brandon gave a modest nod. Kristen smiled with her whole face. I waited until the noise died down. Then, calm and even, "What weekend is the ceremony?" My mom turned toward me. The smile didn't drop. It sharpened. "Oh, sweetie." She tilted her head the way you'd explain something to a child who'd asked a question above their grade level. "You're not invited. You can stay home with Lily." Silence. Not gradual. All at once. Like someone had cut the power. Forks stopped. Eyes went to plates. Aunt Patrice's mouth opened, then closed. Howard stared at the tablecloth. Brandon studied his cider glass. My mom turned back toward the table like she'd just mentioned the weather. "Anyway, I was thinking we could coordinate flights through." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Everyone at that table expected me to do one of 2 things, cry or leave. Those were my only known moves. Cry, apologize, absorb it, or walk out quietly so nobody had to sit in the discomfort. I did neither. I smiled. And I meant it. Because in that silence she'd accidentally created, I understood something clearly. This was the last time. The last dinner I'd cook for people who didn't count me. The last check I'd write for a family that had no room for my picture on the wall. The last time I'd beg for a seat I'd already paid for. I reached into my tote bag and set the manila envelope on the table, right next to the cranberry sauce. "Since we're doing announcements, I've got one." I opened it and laid out the first stack, 28 months of bank statements, transfer after transfer highlighted in yellow. Every rent payment to the Sycamore Lane landlord. Every one of them $2,700. For almost 3 years, I had been paying the rent on this house. $2,700 a month. That's $75,600. I set down the venue contract. My name printed at the top. My credit card number at the bottom. The Amalfi Coast estate address in bold. I also booked and deposited Brandon's wedding venue. $11,000. My card. And then the email, my mom's message to Linda Marsh, printed in black and white. Dated February 9th, 6 weeks before she'd asked me to put down the deposit. And this is my mother telling the bride's family that I'm a homebody who doesn't like formal events. Written nearly a month before she asked me to pay for the venue. Nobody moved. Table was the quietest it had ever been. My mom's face drained of color, that kind of pale that starts at the jaw and works its way up. Brandon's jaw tightened. Kristen looked at the table. I closed the envelope. I'm not angry. I'm done. As of January 1st, the rent payments stop. And the venue. I looked directly at Brandon. It's in my name. I'll be calling to cancel on Monday. My mom recovered first. She always did. Faster instincts than conscience. Rachel, you are being completely dramatic. This is Thanksgiving. This is a family dinner. Brandon's voice cut across the table, sharp and rising. You can't cancel the venue. That is my wedding. The contract is in my name. Card is mine. Legally, it's my reservation to cancel. Howard shifted in his chair. Rachel, this isn't the time. When was the time, Dad? I looked at him directly. When I showed you the bank statements on the back porch and you told me to just let it go. When you went back to sanding Brandon's engagement photo frame. His jaw worked, but nothing came out. The whispers started. Aunt Patrice leaned toward Uncle Greg. Wait! Rachel's been paying their rent. Uncle Greg looked at Howard with an expression I'd never seen cross his face before, somewhere between confusion and disappointment. Cousins exchanged glances. My mom tried to grab the wheel. She volunteered. Nobody forced her. That's what family does. I have voicemails, Mom. February and March 2 years ago. You crying. You begging. Do you want me to play them at this table? My mom sat down. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like someone had let the air out. Her hands went flat on the tablecloth. For the first time in my 34 years, I watched my mother run completely out of words. I stood up, picked up Lily's jacket from the back of her chair, took her hand. 19 people watched. Not one of them stopped me. If you're watching this and your jaw just dropped, I see you. Share this video right now. Send it to someone who needs to hear that standing up for yourself is not the same as being dramatic. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This story is just getting started. My hands were shaking when I buckled Lily into her car seat. I double-checked the strap, closed the door as soft as I could. She looked up at me through the window, confused, trying to read my face the way kids do when the adults around them stop making sense. I got in the driver's seat and gripped the wheel. Through the windshield, I could see the house. Porch light on. Silhouettes moving behind the curtains. Voices, I could hear them faintly raised. My name probably bouncing around that table like something to be explained away. Mommy, why is Grandma upset? I looked at her in the rearview mirror. 7 years old and already fluent in reading a room. Grandma and I had a disagreement. But baby, none of this is your fault. None of it. She nodded slowly, the way kids do when they accept what you've said but aren't quite sure they believe it. My phone buzzed. Mom. I let it go dark. Then Kristen, you need to fix this. You just blew up my entire wedding. Then Brandon, I cannot believe you just did that. You are unhinged. I didn't reply. I thought standing up in that room would feel like armor. Like justice finally arriving with a paper trail. But sitting in that driveway with my daughter and the aftershock of everything settling into my chest, it didn't feel like victory. Felt like surgery without anesthesia. Necessary. Precise. Absolutely devastating. My phone rang one more time. Mara. I picked up. Did you do it? I did it. A breath. Come to my place. Right now. Both of you. I turned the key. I pulled out of the driveway. I didn't look back. First 2 days were brutal. I stayed in my apartment with the blinds pulled, Lily drawing at the coffee table, my phone face down on the counter and still somehow buzzing constantly. Like a wounded animal that couldn't stop moving. My mom left a voicemail that was 4 minutes and 40 seconds long. I listened to it once. She went through every register I'd ever heard from her, crying, then bargaining, then righteous, then threatening. "You're destroying this family, Rachel. If you cancel that venue, I will never forgive you. I gave you everything. Everything." Howard sent a single text, "Please just call your mother." Brandon's messages came in waves over 6 hours. First wounded, "How could you do this to me?" Then angry, "You always make everything about yourself." By the last one, he'd landed on what clearly mattered most to him. "Kristen's parents are going to think we're a total circus." Cousins and aunts chimed in too, most of them with the same gentle advice wrapped in the same careful packaging. "Just apologize, Rachel. Keep the peace. It's not worth this fight." One cousin added, "Your mom is really hurting right now." I sat on my bathroom floor at midnight, tile cold through my pajama pants, Lily asleep in the next room. Pull was enormous. 34 years of conditioning. Pick up the phone, say sorry, absorb the blame, fix the mood. The peacekeeper muscle was the strongest one I'd ever built. And for about 5 hours, I almost gave in. I almost called. Almost said the words. Almost let them pull me back into the shape they'd made for me. But then I opened my laptop. The folder was right there on the desktop. Records. I clicked it open. 28 months of auto-transfers scrolled down the screen like a timeline of everything I'd given and everything I'd quietly lost while giving it. January. February. March. Each one $2,700. Each one confirmed, processed, completed. I opened the calculator again. Rent, $75,600. Venue deposit, $11,000. Miscellaneous, co-pays, registration, the home goods charge, the plumber, various joint card charges, approximately $9,400. Total, $96,000. $96,000. And I slept on a pull-out couch. I opened the venue's website. Their cancellation policy was clear. Cancellations more than 60 days before the event date forfeited a $2,500 processing fee. The remaining $8,500 would be refunded within 21 business days. The wedding was in mid-June. It was late November. I had time. I closed the laptop and powered off my phone. 22 missed calls. 47 texts. Every single one a version of the same demand. "Come back. Be quiet. Make it right." $96,000. That was the price of my invisibility. And I'd been footing that bill myself. It was the last night I ever seriously considered going back. Here's where the story takes a turn I didn't see coming. My manager at Meridian Financial, a woman named Joyce Caldwell, called me into her office Monday morning. Joyce was sharp and no-nonsense, the kind of woman who ran a tight ship and didn't waste time on small talk. She gestured for me to sit down. Folded her hands. Meridian is partnering with a firm in Asheville, North Carolina to launch a regional satellite office. We need a lead bookkeeper to run the books there full-time. I put your name forward. I blinked. Asheville has a lower cost of living. Good schools. The role comes with a 12% salary bump. It's yours if you want it. She paused. And it's about 6.5 hours from here. 6.5 hours. Far enough that a guilt trip couldn't make it to my front door without a full tank of gas and a very serious commitment. "I've watched you carry a lot, Rachel," she said quietly. "I don't know the specifics and I'm not asking. But you walk in here looking tired in a way that has nothing to do with the work." She met my eyes. "Asheville has good hiking trails. Lily would thrive there. And honestly, you deserve to build something that's purely yours." Purely yours. I couldn't remember the last time anything in my life had been purely mine. Not shared. Not handed over. not given away to keep someone else's house standing. Can I have a few days to think about it? Take the week. But the position starts February 1st. February. 4 months out. Enough time to pack up, get Lily registered in a new school, start over clean. The timing hit me like something out of a movie. February was when I'd first started seriously thinking about walking away. And here was a door opening exactly when I needed one. That same week, I got a call from an 828 area code. I almost didn't pick up. But something made me. Rachel? This is your Uncle Dennis. Dennis Connors, my dad's younger brother. I hadn't heard his voice since I was maybe 12 years old. My mom had always described him as the one who checked out, present in her tone, absent from every gathering for as long as I could remember. When I'd asked about him once as a kid, she'd shut it down fast. He chose not to be part of this family. Patrice told me what happened at Thanksgiving, he said. His voice was steady and unhurried, the kind that came from a man who'd already made peace with hard things. I know exactly what you're going through. Because your mom did the same thing to me. He told me his version. 12 years ago, he'd been left off the guest list for Howard's 55th birthday celebration. My mom had told everyone Dennis had said he couldn't make it. In reality, she'd never invited him, because Dennis had once pushed back on how she talked to Howard in front of family, and Beverly didn't tolerate that kind of correction. I spent years trying to prove I belonged, Dennis said. I drove hours for every holiday, brought gifts, bit my tongue until it bled. None of it moved the needle. The more I tried, the smaller she made me feel. What finally changed? I stopped trying. Moved to Asheville. Started a cabinet shop. Built a life that didn't need her approval as the foundation. A pause. The hardest part isn't the leaving, Rachel. It's making peace with the fact that they were never going to change. That was never going to be on the table. He also offered something practical. He had contacts in Asheville. A real estate agent who worked with young families. A few neighborhoods near good schools. He'd email me whatever I needed. I'd spent 34 years thinking I was the only one who saw the pattern clearly. Turns out someone else had seen it too. And he'd not only survived, he'd built something good on the other side. I made the call on a Thursday at noon. My lunch break, the office quiet around me. The venue coordinator on the Amalfi Coast answered on the second ring. Professional, warm, efficient. I gave her the reservation number, spelled my name, confirmed the card. Ms. Connors, as the registered contract holder, you have full authority to cancel this reservation. Per our cancellation policy, cancellations made more than 60 days prior to the event date are subject to a $2,500 processing fee. The remaining balance of $8,500 will be refunded to your original payment method within 21 business days. I understand. Please go ahead with the cancellation. Confirmed. You'll receive a cancellation reference email within the hour. 3 minutes. 2 years and 4 months of being used, and it took 3 minutes to undo the biggest piece of it. The confirmation email hit my inbox at 12:52 p.m. I read it twice. Saved it. Printed a copy. Then I wrote a short, formal email addressed to my mom and Brandon. Subject: Venue cancellation, Amalfi Coast reservation. The reservation at the Villa Serena estate has been officially canceled per my authority as the registered contract holder. Cancellation confirmation is attached. I wish Brandon and Kristen a wonderful wedding. I CC'd Joyce Caldwell. Not as a threat, as a professional witness. Clean record that this was handled with no malice. I pressed send. My phone lit up 40 minutes later. Brandon. Calls back to back, each one rolling to voicemail. I watched the screen pulse and go dark. Pulse and go dark. I pressed mute. Went back to my spreadsheets. I had clients who actually needed me. The letter was harder than the phone call. Phone calls disappear into air. Letters sit on tables. I wrote it by hand on plain white paper. No meridian letterhead. This wasn't professional. It was personal. The last thing I'd write to them as someone still carrying their weight. I kept it short. Dear Mom and Dad, this letter is to let you know that effective January 1st, I will no longer be making rent payments on the Sycamore Lane property. Enclosed are copies of all 28 monthly transfers I made on your behalf, totaling $75,600. This isn't a punishment. It's a correction. I can no longer afford, financially or otherwise, to fund a household that doesn't include me. I wish you both well. Rachel. I read it 4 times and changed nothing. Sealed it. Sent it certified mail, signature required, tracking number saved. The receipt went into the envelope. With this family, every boundary needed a paper trail. That same afternoon, I logged into my bank and canceled the auto transfer. The system asked me to confirm. I confirmed. The next scheduled payment, January 1st, $2,700, removed from the queue. I did the math one more time. My parents would have roughly 60 days before the landlord sent a formal notice. Enough time to sort things out, reach out for help, and figure out how to cover it themselves. I didn't want them on the street. I just needed them to understand in real and concrete terms who had been keeping the lights on. That evening, Lily and I had pasta with butter at our little table. She told me about a book she'd checked out from the school library about dolphins. We talked about whether dolphins had best friends, which she was convinced they did. It was the most peaceful dinner I'd had in years. Mara showed up 2 weekends later with boxes, bubble wrap, and a bottle of red wine she declared non-negotiable. "This is really happening," she said, standing in the doorway, surveying the apartment. "This is really happening." She got to work without ceremony, wrapping glasses, labeling boxes in her sharp, clear handwriting. Kitchen. Lily's room. Books. Bathroom. Lily helped in her own way, loading her stuffed animals into a box and then immediately reorganizing them. The apartment was small. It didn't take long. 4 years in that one bedroom. The flat-pack table. The pull-out couch. The balcony with the parking lot view. I'd paid $1,300 a month here while sending more than double that to Sycamore Lane. The math had always been right there. I just refused to look directly at it. Dennis had connected me with his real estate contact in Asheville. 2-bedroom apartment near a park, 10 minutes from a good elementary school, walkable to a little downtown strip with coffee shops and a farmer's market on weekends. Rent was slightly less than what I'd been paying. For the first time, I'd have a bedroom with a door that closed. "You're not going to say goodbye to them?" Mara asked, sealing the last box. "No." She nodded. No argument. She understood that goodbyes require 2 people who both care. I'd already confirmed which side of that equation I was on. We drove out on a Tuesday morning. Lily fell asleep before we even hit the highway. I watched the exit signs go by one after another. And for the first time in 34 years, nobody called to ask me to do anything. Asheville received us the way a warm coat receives cold shoulders. Completely. Without asking permission. Uncle Dennis had a woodworking shop on the south side of town. We met for coffee in my second week. He looked exactly like my dad but lighter, like a man who had put down something heavy a long time ago and never picked it back up. The apartment was on a tree-lined block near the River Arts District. 2 bedrooms, a real kitchen, a small back patio where Lily immediately claimed the corner with the best light for her art projects. We could hear the neighbors' wind chimes from the living room in the morning. It was the best sound I'd ever woken up to. Lily's first day at her new school, she came home with clay on her shoes and the biggest grin I'd seen in months. "Mommy, there's a reading loft in the library and a girl named Sophia let me borrow her colored pencils and she has 53 of them." I stood in the kitchen unpacking mugs and felt something I couldn't quite name at first. Took me 2 more days to identify it as the absence of dread. I wasn't tensing up every time my phone buzzed. I wasn't doing mental math about how much of myself I could give away this month. I wasn't bracing for the next ask. Work at the Meridian Asheville office settled into a quiet, honest rhythm. My supervisor there, a guy named Tom, was direct and easy, assigned work, said thank you, and didn't need me to manage his feelings. The novelty of that almost made me laugh out loud the first week. On Saturday mornings, Lily and I walked to the farmer's market near Lexington Avenue. Local honey, mountain jam, a booth with handmade candles that Lily gravitated toward every single week. A bluegrass trio played under a tent near the entrance, and old couples danced in the grass like it was nothing, like that was just what you did on a Saturday. I'd follow behind Lily with my coffee and a library book, and I'd think, this is the first Saturday in years where I have nothing I'm supposed to be doing for anyone else. Silence used to mean someone was about to need something from me. In Asheville, silence just meant Saturday morning. Mara kept me updated, not to pour fuel on anything, just because she believed I deserved to see how things had actually landed. The venue cancellation hit first. Brandon had tried to rebook Villa Serena under his own name, but their June calendar was full. He and Kristen spent 3 weeks calling every comparable venue on the Amalfi Coast. Most of what was left at that point was either double the budget or half the ambition. They found a replacement, a small restaurant with a private dining room in the town of Positano. Decent enough, but nothing like what they'd planned. No clifftop terrace. No Mediterranean view. No sweeping hilltop garden. Kristen reportedly cried when she saw the photos. The rent situation hit harder. My parents received the certified letter. According to Aunt Patrice, who heard it from Uncle Greg, who heard it from Howard directly, my mom had never once asked what the monthly amount was. She'd assumed I'd keep paying the way you assume the power stays on. She'd never looked at a bank statement, never thought to ask. She'd simply absorbed it as a given. They fell behind in January. The landlord sent a notice in February. Howard reached out to his bank about fixing up their finances and was told their income situation required significant changes. And Howard, out of options, out of alternatives, did something he hadn't done in over a decade. Called Dennis. To borrow money. Dennis said no. I love you, Howard, Dennis told him. But I'm not going to do for Bev what Rachel did. You need to figure this out together. My mom tried every channel she could think of to reach me. My number was blocked. She sent emails, long, winding ones I didn't open. She called Mara twice. Mara didn't engage. They showed up at my office in Asheville 4 weeks after I'd moved. I was at my desk reviewing a quarterly report when Tom appeared in my office doorway, looking apologetic and uncertain. Rachel, there are 2 people in the lobby asking for you. They say they're family. I walked out slowly. Through the glass partition I saw them. My mom in her good blazer and her pearl earrings, posture rigid, handbag held like a weapon. Brandon in a sport coat, arms crossed, sunglasses on inside. They looked completely out of place. 2 people used to being the center of every room, standing under fluorescent lights in a place that had no idea who they were. Howard must have gotten my address from Dennis somehow. That was the only explanation. My mom's voice reached me before I got to the door. Rachel, you need to come outside and talk to us right now. We are going to fix this. The receptionist glanced at me. 2 coworkers looked up from their desks. Tom stepped forward. This is a place of business. Can I help you? Brandon gave him a look. This is a private family matter. And this is a private workplace, Tom said without raising his voice. I put my hand on the glass door. It's okay, Tom. I'll handle it. 5 minutes. He nodded and stayed visible near the front desk. Arms folded. Present. Quietly protective. I'd known this man for 6 weeks and he'd already shown me more basic respect than my own family had in 34 years. I stepped out into the parking lot. My mom stood in the winter afternoon sun, spine straight, expecting the same Rachel who had always bent. She was about to meet someone else entirely. You need to uncancel that venue. Brandon's wedding is in 3 months. The venue is canceled, Mom. The deposit is being refunded. This is absurd. You're throwing away your brother's wedding over one comment at dinner. Brandon stepped forward. So what? You're just going to blow everything up because Mom said one thing? I looked at him calmly. One thing? She told Kristen's mother I wasn't comfortable at formal events. She created a family group chat about the wedding and deliberately left me out of it. She rewrote the story of why I wasn't invited before she ever asked me to put down $11,000. I held his gaze. She did all of that while I was writing checks every single month to keep the roof over your parents' heads. My mom's voice went hard. I am your mother, and I am your daughter. But you made it clear at that table that I'm not part of this family. I'm not fighting about it anymore. I'm just accepting what you told me. Parking lot was quiet. Car passed on the street behind us. Somewhere close, a bird called out twice and got no answer. Brandon's jaw was tight. My mom's eyes were wet, but her chin was up. Neither of them reached for the word that might have changed something. Sorry. Just hung there in the air between us. A door nobody moved toward. I hope Brandon has a beautiful wedding, I said. I genuinely mean that. But I won't be funding it. And I'm done pretending everything is fine. I turned and walked back through the glass door. Closed behind me with a soft final click. You can have a family without me in it. But you cannot have my money, my time, my silence, and my absence, all at once. That was the last thing I ever said to my mother's face. Truth spread the way truth always does. Not in one wave. In 100 small ripples. Mara called the week after the parking lot meeting. She'd talked to Aunt Patrice, who'd talked to Uncle Greg, who'd been fielding calls from half the extended family. The story had gotten out. The real one. Brandon and Kristen got married at that little Positano restaurant. 20 guests instead of 40. Preset menu in a back dining room. No cliffside terrace, no walled garden, no wide-open sea view. My mom smiled in the photos Patrice forwarded to me, but Patrice added a note. Her eyes were tired. The rent situation got resolved eventually. My parents moved out of Sycamore Lane in March and into a smaller 2-bedroom unit closer to Howard's part-time consulting work. My mom took a job at a local flower shop, her first paycheck in over 20 years. They were managing, but the cushion was permanently gone. Several cousins texted me privately. Short, careful, sincere messages. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I thanked each one. I didn't say more. A week after the wedding, I got an unexpected call from Kristen's dad, Robert Marsh. Rachel, I hope this isn't out of line. I just wanted you to know I didn't find out about any of this until well after the fact. What your family did to you was genuinely wrong. You deserved better. I thanked him. I meant it. But I didn't go deeper. That was their family now. The facts had finally caught up with the fiction. And nobody could rewrite this version. The envelope came in May, plain white, no return address, but I'd know my dad's handwriting anywhere. Those careful, measured letters from a man who'd spent his whole career measuring things for a living. I opened it at the kitchen table on a Sunday morning while Lily ate cereal in the next room, a nature documentary playing softly on the TV. One page. No preamble. Rachel, I've been sitting with this for 5 months and I still don't have the right words. I know that's not enough. I should have spoken up. Thanksgiving. On the back porch when you showed me the bank statements. At every dinner where your mother said something that made you smaller and I looked the other way and called it keeping the peace. It wasn't keeping the peace. It was protecting my own comfort at your expense. I'm not writing to ask you to come back or to fix anything or to send money. I'm writing because you're my daughter and you deserved a father who stood up for you. I didn't do that. That's mine to carry. Lily has your eyes. I miss her. I miss you. I understand if you need a long time. I understand if you need forever. Dad. I read it twice. The second time, my eyes went blurry and the words softened at the edges. It wasn't a full apology. He didn't mention my mom. He didn't promise anything would change. He didn't explain 34 years of choosing silence. But it was the first honest thing he'd ever put in writing and sent to me directly. And for a man who'd spent his entire life stepping around hard conversations, one page was probably everything he had. I folded it and put it in my bedside drawer. I didn't throw it away. I didn't frame it either. I just let it exist. Like a door left cracked open that I wasn't sure yet whether I'd walk through. My mom's letter arrived through Mara, hand-delivered because every direct line to me had been cut. The Mara called before she opened it. "It's from your mom. You want me to read it first? Go ahead." I heard the envelope tear. A long pause. Then Mara's voice, flat with something between disbelief and dark amusement. She opens with, "I just want my family back. Says she thinks about you every day. Wants to start fresh, put it all behind us, the usual." There's a line about Thanksgiving being taken out of context. Another pause. "But then, Rachel," she attached an invoice. She what? An invoice? From the replacement venue on the Amalfi Coast. Ran $6,000 more than the original. There's a handwritten note at the bottom. "This is the difference your decision caused. Please Venmo Brandon at your convenience." I was sitting on my back patio in Asheville, evening light coming through the trees, Lily's wind chimes turning slow in the breeze, and I laughed. Not bitterly. Genuinely. Kind of laugh that comes when something is so perfectly, completely consistent with everything you already know about a person that surprise is impossible. Course she did. Mara laughed too, shorter, sharper. "I swear she could invoice you for her own feelings. Kay, I need a comment from you right now. Drop the most unbelievable thing a family member has ever pulled on you. 'Cause I guarantee someone in this comment section is about to top even this. And if this story has been worth your time today, hit that like button. Genuinely helps more people find this channel who need it." I didn't respond to the letter. There was nothing left to say to someone who could staple a payment request to an olive branch and see no contradiction in it. That wasn't making up. That was a toll booth wearing the costume of an apology. That evening I called Dennis. We'd been talking every couple of weeks, easy, warm conversations about Asheville and Lily's school drawings and his cabinet work. "Let me guess," he said before I could start. "She sent a guilt letter with a bill attached." "How did you know?" "She sent me one in 2014. For food she'd ordered at a party I wasn't invited to. Said it had been planned with me in mind. Some patterns don't just repeat. They get handed down." By the time fall arrived in Asheville, slow and golden, the mountains going amber and rust outside our windows, nearly a year had passed since that Thanksgiving. And my life was nearly unrecognizable in the best way. Saturday mornings were ours now. Lily and I at the farmer's market, the bluegrass trio playing, old couples two-stepping in the grass like that was just what people did. Lily had her routine, the honey stand first, then the booth with the handmade soap she loved to smell, then the woman who made animal-shaped cookies and always slipped Lily an extra one and called her Little Miss. I'd walk behind her with my coffee, watching her move through the world with quiet confidence, a kid who felt safe, who laughed without checking to see if anyone approved. She'd made 3 good friends at school. Her teacher's report said she was creative, empathetic, and sometimes a little too serious for a 7-year-old. I recognized that last part. Tom had given me my own client portfolio to manage independently. 8 accounts, room to grow. The first time someone had trusted me with real responsibility because of what I could do, not what I was willing to sacrifice. I started therapy. Not because I was broken. Because I wanted to understand the patterns well enough to make sure Lily never inherited them. My therapist, a woman named Dr. Avery, said something in our third session that I've turned over in my mind 100 times since. You spent so long making yourself necessary to people who made you invisible. Part of healing is learning to be seen without earning it. I wrote Howard a short letter in November. Just one thing, when you're ready for an honest conversation, a real one, I'll be here. I mean it. I did mean it. And I'd made peace with the possibility that it might never come. I used to measure my worth by how much I gave. These days, I measure it by how I feel when I wake up. Here's what I want to say before I wrap this up, and I want you to really hear it the way I mean it. I didn't leave to punish them. I left because staying was punishing me. Every month I wrote that check, I was teaching my family that I didn't matter. Every holiday meal I cooked, every sting I swallowed, every time I accepted less than the basic dignity of being acknowledged, I was confirming for everyone, including myself and my daughter, that Rachel could be used and overlooked and it would be fine. My mom wanted a family portrait without me in the frame. So I let her have it. And I went and built my own frame. It's not a perfect life. I still have mornings where the old guilt creeps back in, where the voice shows up asking if I should have tried harder, held on longer, found one more way to make them see me. Therapy helps with those mornings. So does Lily's face when she's telling me about dolphins, or Sophia's colored pencils, or something funny that happened at the water fountain. The manila envelope is on a high shelf in my closet. I don't open it anymore. I don't need to. The paper did its job. It told the truth when my voice alone wasn't going to be enough. But the real evidence of who I am isn't in bank transfer records or venue contracts. It's in the way my daughter laughs without scanning the room to see if anyone approves. It's in a Sunday morning with nowhere to be and nothing to prove. It's in the back patio in Asheville with wind chimes and coffee and a whole new life I built for myself. If you are the Rachel in your family, the one who pays, who plans, who shows up, who holds everything together and gets quietly erased in return, hear me. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to leave. And you are absolutely allowed to be okay on the other side of it. That is not selfishness. That is survival. Mommy, can we go to the farmer's market? Lily was in the doorway in her rain boots, jacket half-zipped, already holding my keys. I looked at her, this small, serious, wonderful person I'd built my whole life around protecting, and I felt something settle in my chest like a key turning in a lock. Yeah, baby. Let's go. That's my story. And before you go, I need 3 things from you. Number 1, tell me in the comments which moment hit you the hardest. Was it A, the Thanksgiving table moment when I laid everything out? Was it B, the second I picked up the phone and canceled that venue? Or was it C, the invoice my mom attached to her I miss you letter? Drop your letter and your city in the comments. Tell me where in the world you're watching from. I read every single comment and I reply to as many as I can. Number 2, if this story moved you, if it made you feel seen, if it gave you even 1 ounce of courage to stop carrying people who won't carry you back, please share this video right now. Text it. Post it. Send it to that one person in your life who needs to hear it. You could change someone's whole day with 1 tap. Number 3, subscribe. This channel is built for people who are done being the family's best-kept secret. Every week I share real stories about setting boundaries, walking away, and rebuilding something better. If that's you, hit that red button and the bell so you never miss one. There's a full playlist of stories just like this one linked in the description below. I'll see you in the next one. And hey, protect your peace. It is the only home that is truly yours.